Hello, so my name is Dr. Rivera, and I'm the Certification Director for FIDO Alliance. This session is going to cover the FIDO certified programs, and we're going to be looking at benefits to FIDO certification or product certification and the process for our certification programs. So to start, let's talk about benefits to product certification. There are many benefits for certifying products. The ones that we selected today, which there are 4, are specific to the FIDO certifications itself. We are looking at standardization, market differentiation, regulatory requirements, and consumer protection. So let's go over those. First, from a standardization for the industry, when products are being developed against certain specifications, many organizations can develop those specifications. What happens is that products start to become developed in the wild. And once a standardization is established, the products then can be applied as a conformant. They can be requirement enabled. They'll interoperate within the marketplace. They're compliant and they're validated against those specifications, as well as any additional requirements for that program. And this is important because what we've seen is that organizations have about a 30% savings over their purchase operations when they are buying products that have been developed against industry standards. So what this means is that because they're validated, because they're interoperable, these products are working together, and organizations will see that savings to the bottom line when they utilize products that have been certified. The next is market differentiator. Improve product quality because you're going to stand out against the competition. That's why we have our FIDO certified logos. In getting your product certifying and using the certified logos, people will know that your product has gone through a rigorous certification process. And this gives the entire marketplace a competitive edge. So what we've seen through market surveys is that 64% of our respondents agree that a good reputation and trust are factors for purchasing any of their products. So if you're utilizing a FIDO certified logo on your product that's been certified through our rigorous programs, then those products will hold a reputation of trust. The third is the regulatory requirement. So what we've seen is that in the regulatory industries that are highly regulated, we have finance, healthcare, any sort of government bodies out there. They've implemented industry requirements that need to be met. So certified products typically will be able to meet those requirements from a compliance aspect and a proof that they've been validated in the marketplace. The biggest thing about regulatory compliance is that organizations who fail to utilize products that meet regulatory requirements have seen an increase in penalties by 2/3 over a 1-year period. This is specifically related to security and privacy products, but it is an important factor when understanding benefits to certification. Lastly is consumer protection. So these products that are certified in the marketplace also have consumer labels around them. So the FIDO certified product shows that this consumer can purchase with confidence, that there's a level of security and trust for that product, that the purchase is an informed purchase, and that it meets those rigorous requirements for the certification program. And it's similar in relation from a survey perspective to market differentiation, in that enables trust. So what we've seen is 81% of global consumers surveyed say that trust is an important part of their product buying decision. So while there are many product certification benefits, the FIDO Alliance feels that these 4 are very specific to our products alone. So we have a standardization for the industry. We've enabled market differentiation for vendors who go through our product certification by utilizing a certified logo. Our certification programs meet many regulatory requirements, especially related to security and privacy. And we've enabled a trust factor for our consumer protection. by enabling and allowing our products to be labeled as FIDO certified. So what products do we certify? And this section will also go over the high level process. While there's a lot of very low level in the weeds processes for all of these products, I'm just going to keep this very high level. So we do have functional certification, we have our Authenticator certification, and we have our biometric certification program. So we're going to start with functional. Functional certification at its core is very basic. This is all of our certifications are available to members and non-members. And functional, you could think of it as basically our server certifications. So that's one of our largest buckets of certifications that we do right now. So all servers going through certification will have to meet the functional requirements. And those are conformance test validation. And the conformance test is a set of tests that the vendor selects and runs based upon the specification. So if you pass all the conformance tests, your product meets the specification requirements. The second part of the functional testing is interoperability. So interoperability validates the implementability of the product within the marketplace. And what does that mean? That means that if I go to use a FIDO authenticator, like a security key on my laptop, that it interoperates with my laptop, and it can interoperate possibly with my phone, that it interoperates against the Windows, it interoperates against the multiple browsers for our FIDO2 implementations. So basically it plug and plays, and you don't have to worry about it not working. So that's functional certification. The next is our Authenticator certification. Now, the Authenticator certification is specific to FIDO authenticators. The first step is to pass the functional certification, but is a combination of our functional certification plus a security evaluation. Both of those will equal the Authenticator certification. So looking at the security evaluation, that's the specific portion that relates to the authenticator, is like a three-step process. And that three-step process is that the vendor completes a vendor questionnaire based on the level. And we'll get into the security levels in a minute. Once that vendor questionnaire is completed, then there's a set of test procedures that go along with them that need to be evaluated. And again, depending on the security level that you select, those will be reviewed by either our security secretariat, or you will work with an accredited lab. Those labs that are accredited are listed on this slide, and these are our security accredited labs. These labs have gone through a rigorous process and understand the evaluation test procedures for our certification, Authenticator certification program. So you would coordinate with one of these approved labs for your evaluation, depending on the level that you seek. So the first level is 1. This is basically if you implement FIDO protocols, FIDO specifications as indicated, then you pretty much have achieved level 1. There are additional security requirements that have to be met, but it always looks at the base core of the FIDO specifications. This will also look at the keys and how they're stored, and any of the biometric templates and where they are stored. There is in each of our levels what we call a plus. So this is a added security assurance on the development processes and how you've secured certain aspects of the FIDO authenticator within that target of evaluation. So we do have a level 1 plus. It is currently in development and will more than likely be launched next year, 2021. And what this adds is the evaluation related to white box cryptography. So this is very much still at the software level for an evaluation. So the certification process for level 1 is the completion of the vendor questionnaire for all of the items, all the requirements related to the level 1. And submission to the security secretariat for the evaluation of those test procedures based on the vendor questionnaire. Level 1 plus is the same procedure, vendor questionnaire, but you're going to work with an accredited lab that's accredited for the level 1 plus, and then you'll submit the vendor questionnaire to them. They'll do the evaluation and then complete a report output to FIDO Alliance. So that's level 1. Level 2. So level 2 is looking at everything related to the requirements for level 1, but adding additional security assurance. And what this is, the primary differentiation between level 1 and level 2 is that the vendor now has to utilize what we call an allowed restricted operating environment. This is something like a TEE or a secure element or even a TPM. And it's one of the document outputs for the Authenticator security program. And if you're seeking level 2, then we need to revert back to this document and make sure that you're utilizing an approved restricted operating environment. Now, again, with same as level 1, we do have our pluses. So 2 plus is an additional assurance level. That program currently is not in place, and we are working on the development of it. The certification process for level 2 and 2 plus is the utilization of a lab. So the vendor will complete the vendor questionnaire for all items related to level 2 or 2 plus and work with a lab that's been accredited to that level. They'll complete the evaluation of the test procedures and submit a report to the FIDO Alliance. Lastly is our level 3. Level 3 is the highest level area that we have, and it also includes a level 3 plus. So level 3 is everything for level 2 plus additional security assurances as it relates to hardware protection. So the primary difference between level 1 and level 2 is the use of an allowed restricted operating environment. And from level 2 to level 3 are the additional protections, hardware protections that are put in place against physical tampering. So level 3 plus adds additional hardware chip level physical attack defenses. So it protects against decapping or probing the chip itself. The evaluation process or the certification process is the same as level 2. You will coordinate with a lab that is accredited to the level 3 plus, and you'll complete the vendor questionnaire for all items related to the level 3 and submit everything to the laboratory for the test procedure evaluation, and the FIDO Alliance will receive a report. Now, another difference between level 2 and level 3 is that level 3, the lab will do the physical evaluations, meaning that they're going to look at source code. So all source code has to be submitted. They're going to do tests from a vulnerability perspective, penetration tests on the device itself. So it becomes a lot more complicated because we're achieving a higher level of assurance. So once you are certified, your certification will never expire. So the FIDO Alliance certification programs are all developed on policy. Your certificate is always tied to a specific policy version and a specific specification version and a specific, for authenticators, a specific security requirements version. So there might be changes to the program, and that does not actually, like if a new requirements document comes out, it doesn't void your authenticator, but there are certain situations, and it's all defined within our policy documents, where you might need to go through some sort of additional security, additional certification process. And this is specific to our authenticators. So the derivative is where the certification, where the Security Secretariat will receive from the vendor what we call a FIDO impact analysis report. And this analysis report will be basically where the vendor indicates changes that they've made to their authenticator. Our security secretariat will do an evaluation and determine whether or not it's non-interfering, minor, or major. Non-interfering would indicate that this is what we call a derivative. So there's no changes at all to the FIDO functionality. Once the security secretary does the evaluation and determines possibly that there's minor changes, then we call that a Delta certification, where there has been functionality to the FIDO core that requires minor updates, and the process would be to validate against the test tools and validate the modifications in the requirements with the security secretariat, and that is the Delta certification process. If the determination that the changes to the FIDO functionality are major, then that would require a complete recertification, and that is all the functional requirements and the security evaluation. So that's the maintenance on our products. So the third certification program that we'll discuss is our biometric certification. And this program primarily is to certify the components or the different subsystems. Then it is completely independent of the Authenticator certification program. The same with, as with the security program, we do have accredited biometric labs. And these are the approved biometric evaluation labs that have been accredited through our programs that you can utilize for your biometric component certification. Now, while I did say that the biometric program is completely independent, the Authenticator certification can be dependent on the biometric program. So let me explain that. So using a certified biometric subcomponent for Authenticator certification that wants to use a biometric is optional level 1 through 2. What I mean by that is if you are developing an authenticator that uses a biometric, the biometric component does not have to be FIDO certified at level 1, level 1 plus, or level 2. Where the dependency comes into place is that the security requirements for the Authenticator certification program enforce the biometric certification for level 3 and higher. And this will, once level 2 is finalized, it will also be required at level 2. So this is actually a requirement in the Authenticator certification program. And once that is incorporated, then it results in the FIDO certified authenticator. All right. So the dependence is the Authenticator certification program requires a certified FIDO certified component if you're using a biometric. Okay, so I hope that's clear. So some of the definitions that the biometric program utilizes, these are the performance testing of the program itself. And I left out any figures because we're recently updated them, and I'd like you'd be able to reference those directly from our website. But the performance factors that we look at are false accept rate. So this is the portion of verified transactions that have wrongful claims of identity that are incorrect. And then we look at the false reject rate. So these are proportion of verification transactions with truthful claims of identity that are incorrectly denied. So basically, if you're trying to unlock your phone and it says, no, it's not you, that's a false reject rate. The third is basically our presentation attack detection. And we look at the imposter attack presentation match rate. So those are the three primary performance factors that are evaluated in the biometric certification program. There is, however, an option for self-attestation. And I'd like to preface that while we do allow self-attestation, the FIDO Alliance felt that this wasn't something that you just take at hand. So there is, the lab does actually have to do some evaluations, and it's the evaluation of the vendor supported data. and their documentation to make sure that, yes, it makes sense. It is rational that this product, based on the supporting data, could achieve these levels of performance. So a little bit about the subcomponent testing. So here we have a biometric vendor that creates a biometric component. And what they decided that they want to go through the FIDO component certification program. So they work with a lender that's been approved, a lab that's been accredited. And what they have to supply to that lab is the actual biometric itself and how it meets the requirements of the program, and what we call an allowed integration document. And I'll explain that in the following slide. But the allowed integration document becomes part of that biometric component. Once it goes through the entire evaluation process and is approved by the biometric secretariat at FIDO, then a certificate is issued. And along with that certificate is the allowed integration document. The allowed integration document is basically a document that is developed by the vendor and submitted to the lab, and it's used to document the necessary changes to accommodate the integration of that biometric into the authenticator without changing the performance levels. So this biometric has been certified against the program requirements for FRR, FAR, and presentation attack detection. If that authenticator is, or if that biometric is implemented or integrated into an authenticator and it doesn't comply with the allowed integration document, there is potential for those performance levels to be modified. And that is the purpose of this document. It shows any explanation of possible software or hardware changes that can be accommodated and still allow that biometric component to be certified to those levels of performance. A little complicated, but well-defined within the document policies. So looking at when I mentioned that the authenticator and biometric certification program and how they work together. So there's two steps here. The first step is you have your certified biometric component and the allowed integration document. And you're going to, a vendor decides that they want to use it in their implementation. So they've decided to integrate it into their authenticator. And they just want to achieve level 1, which is fine. So at level 1, you're just going to go through the authenticator certification program as it is defined for level 1, which means that you'll complete the vendor questionnaire, you'll complete and submit to the FIDO Security Secretariat, who will do the test procedures based upon the vendor questionnaire for level 1. Once it's approved, then they'll be issued a FIDO certified logo. Now, where it gets a little complicated is that we have two options for level 2 and higher. Again, the dependency is the authenticator certification program on the biometric, if you're using a biometric, for level 2+ and higher. So it has to be a certified. So the two paths here, if we could take the top path, is this is an authenticator that's been integrated with a FIDO certified biometric component, and you're seeking level 2 or higher. You'll just go through pretty much the same process as before. You'll work with a lab that's accredited to level 2 or higher, complete the vendor questionnaire, submit it to the lab. The lab will do the evaluation of the test procedures. They'll send over a report to our FIDO Security Secretariat, who will then stamp it approved if it is approved, and then you'll be able to go through the remaining flow for certification. Now, where it gets complicated is the bottom. There is an option for a vendor to have a biometric component that is not yet certified, but they want to get it certified, and they go through the process together. So we do have labs that are both security accredited and biometric accredited. So if you don't have a biometric component that's yet certified, and you're looking to certify both the biometric and the authenticator, this path would probably be the right path for you. It's going to be a little more complicated, but since you're using the same lab, the lab will be able to do the evaluations of both, and we'll have a clearer understanding of the product as a whole. So you'll go through the biometric component certification and the authenticator component certification with the same outputs to the security secretariat is in a lab report. And then if they stamp that approved, then you'll get FIDO certified. And then lastly, finalizing your certification. So whether you've gone through our functional certification, the Authenticator certification, or a biometric certification program, these are the final stages for that getting your certificate issued. The first is that you'll actually apply for your certification. And part of that process is using the trademark agreement. So this by far is one of the biggest vendor benefits that we have of them going through the certification program, and has also been being able to use the FIDO certified logo. And as I had mentioned before, going through the benefits, that from a consumer protection, from a regulatory, from a standardization within the industry, and then also from a market differentiator, this is something that you would want to be able to utilize on your products and on your website. So you'd have to execute the trademark licensing agreement. Then once everything is validated, you will get your certificate, and obviously also be invoiced for the program itself based upon which certification you went through. And then all of our authenticators have the option of submitting their authenticator metadata to the FIDO metadata service. And one of the biggest benefits to doing such is that the FIDO metadata service basically has this element of trust within the marketplace. So if your certified authenticator is in the metadata, then vendors or relying parties will know about your authenticator and that it meets the attestation requirements for the FIDO certified program. So it just establishes a level of trust within the FIDO marketplace. And that is everything. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.